queen of the underworld and also the goddess of spring. In this video I'm going to tell you the story of Persephone, her symbols, her archetype, and how to connect with her. Persephone is the daughter of the great goddess Demeter, the goddess of prosperity, grains, and crops, and also Zeus, the king of the gods. And one day she was picking up some flowers with her friends in the fields, and time went by, they were very entertained. Suddenly they got separated, and in this moment there was a crack on the floor, and Hades appeared with his black horses and a chariot, and he kidnapped Persephone. Everybody says that Persephone was very happy and full of life, so men always wanted to marry her, and Hades kidnapped her and got married with her. But there was one thing: after the kidnap, nobody knew about Persephone, what happened to Persephone, what was Persephone. And Demeter was waiting for her to come back on that day, and she didn't appear. So Demeter got very sad, and then she went down to earth to look for Persephone, but she couldn't find her daughter. She walked around earth and no one could help her, not even Persephone's friends, not even the other gods. So Demeter started to feel very sad and very angry at the same time. And her feelings were reflected in the crops. So as Demeter was sad and angry, there were no crops. As there were no crops, people would get no food. And this started to be a serious problem for everyone. So Zeus intervened and let's try to help Demeter. But no one could find Persephone, so no one could really help Demeter. Now there are two versions on how Persephone was found in the underworld. The first one says that Helios, the sun god who sees everything and everyone, noticed that he could not find Persephone on the surface, so she would probably be in the underworld with Hades. And the other version is that Hecate, who became Persephone's best friend, noticed that Persephone was missing her mother, so she told Demeter that Persephone was in Hades. Anyway, Demeter wanted to go to the underworld to take Persephone back, but not everyone can enter and leave the underworld anytime. Only some gods or some creatures were capable of doing this. So Hecate and Hermes helped Demeter to go there. She finally found Persephone, but she couldn't take Persephone back because Hades wouldn't allow it. So Zeus had to intervene and he made a judgment to decide what was going to happen, because if Persephone wouldn't return to the surface, there will be no food forever, so people would die, everybody would die. So Zeus says that Persephone must go out and live with Demeter again. But there are some strict rules in the underworld. So if you are going to Hades, to the underworld, never eat anything, because if you eat something, you may not live again. And of course, Hades knew it, so he gave Persephone a pomegranate and she ate. So she got tied to the underworld and she could not leave it. So Zeus had to do something, so he decided that Persephone would leave the underworld for a period of time and then return. During this period she was out of the underworld, she brought life back to the surface. So she symbolizes spring coming back and the earth reviving, renewing. And Demeter got very happy with her daughter, so Demeter would give her energy for the crops again and for the food. But by the time Persephone would go down to the underworld again, she would take the life with her, so the earth would be left with winter, and Demeter would cry and feel very sad, so there will be no crops. It seems that in the beginning Persephone felt very lonely and sad in the underworld because she didn't care for Hades. She didn't want to be there really. So it seems that Hecate became very closer to Persephone to help her to overcome the situation. And when we see this relation between Hecate and Persephone, we can also include Demeter in the middle. We have Persephone as a maiden, Demeter as a mother, and Hecate as a crone. So we see this triple aspect in these three goddesses, and we can understand, we can interpret that Persephone became an apprentice to Hecate, and one day Persephone will be a new queen of witches, a new great sorceress, just like Hecate is. Anyway, with time, it seems like Persephone got very used to the underworld, and she became a really good queen of the underworld and ruler of the dead. So she and Hades, they will sit on their thrones and observe and watch the souls being punished by the Erinyes. And the Erinyes in some versions are children of Persephone and Hades. And three of them are the most famous ones. In some stories we have a lot of them, but in some others we have only three. Alicto, Megara, and Tisiphone. Alicto punishes everyone who commits moral crimes. Megara punishes all those who commit theft, break promises, and infidelities. And Tisiphone punishes all the murderers. So Persephone has these two aspects: the goddess of spring, the one who gives life, or returns life and renews life, and the queen of the underworld, the goddess of dead, the one who takes away life, or the one who decides what's going to happen with the dead. So we can interpret her with these two different aspects, and we can attribute to her two different symbols. In the first one we have the flowers, because just like the flowers, she brings joy, she brings energy, she brings happiness and everything else, and it's a colorful thing. And the other one is the pomegranate. The pomegranate is related to life and death. When we open a pomegranate, we have a very dark red color, which is similar to blood. And the act of taking out the seeds is like taking the life away of it. So the pomegranate is very linked to this idea of life and death, because at the same time we kill it, the seeds are the ones who are going to bring new life to other trees, to other pomegranates. So Persephone is very connected to these two. She has this ability of give life, take away life, renew life, and change lives, and decide what happens with everyone and everything else. Another very important story involving Persephone involves Persephone, Adonis, and Aphrodite. So we have a war here. The most famous version is that Aphrodite fell in love with Adonis' beauty, and she wanted Adonis only for her. So she kept Adonis inside a box, inside a chest, and sent this box to Persephone so Persephone could safekeep this chest in the underworld. No one would ever find Adonis there. So when Aphrodite wanted to have Adonis back, she would simply ask Persephone to send the box back, or the chest back. But then, okay, Persephone was keeping the chest, but one day she decided to open it, and she saw Adonis there, and she also fell in love with Adonis. So when Aphrodite asked the chest back, Persephone refused to give it to her. So this generated a conflict between Persephone and Aphrodite. And this conflict was so serious that Zeus had to intervene to calm down the situation. And when Zeus entered this, he decided that Adonis' life would be divided into three different parts. In the first part, he will live with Persephone. The second part, he will live with Aphrodite. And the third part, he will be free to choose where to go or who to live with. Adonis chose to live with Aphrodite, so more time with Aphrodite and less time with Persephone. And the life of Adonis symbolizes the cycle of a seed being planted, growing up and becoming a flower. When he's with Persephone, he's being planted. He's just a seed. When he goes to Aphrodite for the first time, he starts growing up. And when he's with Aphrodite by his own decision, he becomes a full flower, full blossom flower. But Aphrodite was not a winner in this situation, because when Aphrodite and Adonis were together in a field, on a very beautiful day, Ares, the god of war, who Aphrodite had a case with, her most famous case, was jealous of Adonis. So he turned himself into a boar and killed Adonis in the arms of Aphrodite. So she cried a lot, and then the death of Adonis, became a very important ritual in which women would cry for Adonis' death during the summer solstice. And this ritual is known as Adonia. The most important celebration in ancient Greek involving Persephone is called Eleusinian Mysteries. I talk about this in Demeter's video, because Demeter is also involved, of course. The Eleusinian Mysteries were celebrated every 5 years, and nobody knows until today what exactly happened during this period, during these rites. All we know is that they somehow retold this story about Demeter and Persephone, and how Persephone was kidnapped and everything that happened to her, and how she came back and Zeus decided those things, and she goes back to Hades and she comes back to Demeter. But exactly those things, the activities, the rites, and who could enter, and all the things we don't know, and probably we will never know. We have some information through vases, through paintings, but they are not enough to recreate these Eleusinian mysteries. So you can connect today with Persephone to decide some things in your life. Let's remind this, Persephone has this power over life. She can give life, she can take life away, or she can decide to bring something back to life. So when we create a simple ritual with her, we can use some of her symbols like the flowers or the pomegranate, or nothing at all, just you and her. So for this ritual, ask 3 questions for her. What should I kill in my life? What should I allow to live in my life? And what should I bring back to life in my life? Do this preferably during the night, the way you think it's best. You can light up an incense, some candles, use some essential oils. You're free to choose the best things for you. The important thing is connect with her to get these answers and work these answers in the following days, weeks, months, or maybe years. So this is Persephone, the goddess of spring and the queen of the underworld. If you like this video, please give your thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below, share it with your friends, and use our oracle. Thank you very much. And if you're still here, why don't you stay a little bit longer on the channel? Here you'll find a playlist with all the Greek goddesses I have talked about. Here, a playlist with all the goddesses in general I have talked about. Here, a playlist with all the Orphic hymns dedicated to the Greek goddesses. And here, subscribe for more. Thank you so much.